This course was unplanned, 'cause you see up in my bedroom I've got Sarah Bernard's hand. Practice makes perfect, I've done this
bad internet. You are the fly in the ointment. Or, like in Rocky and Bullwinkle, the other title could be, I'm actually crazy, and everything I have to say is worthless garbage. It's one or the other. One or the other, we shall see. Time shall tell. Really, I don't care who's here. There's probably a big fat zero or my friend from another continent that wants to convince me they've had a vision. No such thing as visions. No such thing as Noah. No such thing as any of that bullshit. But the stories matter, okay? You take the characters, you take the moral and the lessons in those characters, those archetypes, those myths, and we keep those. That's the baby. The bathwater is pretending it's fucking real. What is real? Blah, 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 blah. Israel ain't real. It's a construct. It's a construct which had utility until the wannabe Israelites decided to be more like the Nazis that they ran from. I didn't say exactly like Benjamin Netanyahu. I will still debate you if you want. Are you saying that Israelites are like Nazis? That's so offensive. Yeah, I am saying that. I am. And I think a lot of other people are too. The problem is dumber, more meat-headed people will take that extrapolation and they'll stretch it out to be this huge, like, global anti-Semitic, justification. And that's wrong. Just look at, Orban and Hungary and how they make billboards of George Soros as if he's the... Anyways, it's not cut and dried. You know who wants to make it cut and dried? Weird freaking religious people and their Republican senators. I mean, that's it. That's it. Democrats posing as progressives too. If they take AIPAC money, yeah, Mr. Durbin, I'm looking at you. He sounds so cool. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but he is there because of AIPAC money. He is bought and sold already. And people like Jackson Hinkle and was a Caleb Maupin guy. I don't know. I didn't look into him. I'm really kind of getting ahead of myself with the mention of Caleb Maupin. I meant to say Haas. A lot of these people, they're just so, ramped up. They're so, eager to be like, you're wrong, you're a hypocrite. What about the money? What about the Jews? Etc., etc. And that's my point. They're just as wrong. They're taking what's there and they're stretching it to fit their narrative. And they're acting as if they're in righteous, they have righteous justification and they'll continue saying what they believe. Vivek Ramaswamy, he said on the John Stossel interview that I posted yesterday, he said, I'm going to continue speaking truth. Something like this. I'm paraphrasing, but this is the same idea. I'm going to continue speaking truth. No one can stop me from saying what's true, what's real, what's true. And here's where it becomes ironic. I'm going to continue saying what I believe. Or I'm never going to compromise what I believe or something like that. But you see, belief, what you believe and what is true are two different things. Your conviction and belief does not prove the truth. They have to be two separate things. There may be utility in that belief that allows us a better understanding of truth. But you have to observe the process as the priority, not the effect. And that's all people are generally capable of doing, is observing and policing the effect. What holiday is it? Oh, what did you eat? Oh, did you talk to someone that I met in your life? How are they? How are they doing? Tell them I said hi. Oh, none of that makes any fucking difference except to you, to make you feel as if you are a more civil and functional part of a, better society or something. We're not here to do that. We are here to make fun of little kids on the internet pretending as if they know about shit like Nazis and political discourse. That's what I want to do. There's probably a big fat zero people watching. If there aren't, hi, I'm sorry. I appreciate you being here. I would love to reward your curiosity and your conviction, because being here is a demonstration that you do have conviction. You've stepped off of the path, off of the groupthink highway onto, what is going on over here with this noisy weird guy? I don't know what your reasoning is, but it's counter to what your normal routines are, and that should be applauded. My vision-loving friend may be blowing up the comments again. I don't know. They gave me their phone number. Look, I'm not going to call you until we can have a real good, like conversation in writing away from the public eye. DM me on Twitter. Tell me about your vision. If you're not in bad faith, I'll continue to humor that. But I've said very plainly that I am here as a religious figure to fill the purpose of the Antichrist, as far as you all see it, because you need me, and there are more reasons that we can provide later, but it has nothing to do with justifying religious insanity. The point that got me into this publicly, because it's always been the case, but the reason that I decided to present myself now was that the new atheist clique clubs that have the policing down pat on Twitter, they're like, you're weird. The new atheist imitators, because they're like, I don't know if they've checked, but it's like 10 years too late for that to be cool anymore. But, they're pretending like they're, so reasonable and rational, and they're empirically minded, and their narrative is the one that reasonable people prescribe to. Look at you not prescribing to our narrative. Let's quote retweet this to all of my little cultish friends so we can be like, look at that stupid old lady that believes in Jesus. Wow, you guys are real academic intellectuals up in this piece. Yeah, the absurdity is lousy with absurdity up in here. So I'm not going to focus on that. I have my reasons for saying and doing the things that I do. If anyone was sincerely and genuinely interested in understanding why does this guy deviate from the norms and continue to double down on that energy, ask me. It's really simple. You make it complicated to keep your narrative in place, and that narrative is not functional, and it will continue to poison things that could be more productive. That's as simple as I can make that right now. For now, you see this guy on the screen here? I don't know who he is. I don't really care. He could reach out if he wants, but he's probably more these groupthink people that are like, you think that? Then you must think this. Like, no, they didn't say that. They never said that. Well, there are people that do say those, and what you're saying now will eventually turn into that because it's all a slippery slope into Nazism. Everything's a slippery slope into Nazism. These guys, these kids that think they're like, well, the Nazis couldn't have been socialists because if they were socialists, then right-wing people wouldn't parrot what they said back then. And it's like, listen to this guy's narrative. And consider how he's policing the effect. He's the one that thinks he's the authority. He's the one that's setting difficulty straight. To do what? To do what? All you do is validate the narrative on the other side of another narrative. And both narratives are wrong. And by saying this is the right narrative, you empower the other side to do its homework too. And all you end up with is this dichotomy of false opposition. Now, of course, you can look on Reddit and say, look at all these Nazis online. Yeah, they're there. That's not real life. That's not real life. It could be, but it's buried in layers and irony and absurdity and so forth and so on. So let's listen to what the man has to say and comment thereafter. Shall we? Wait, let's take it back to the beginning. And pardon me for just a moment.
And it was labelled National Conservatism. Now, despite having a name like National Conservatism, it must be the complete... Hello, everyone. once again from the dystopian capitalist monarchy of the United Kingdom. Now, recently in the UK, we had an American-funded far-right conservative conference where Nazi-era conspiracy theories were promoted in front of the eyes of the UK, and it was labelled national conservatism. Now, despite having a name like national conservatism, it must be the complete opposite of national socialism. Didn't you know Hitler was actually a socialist? Well, if Hitler was a socialist, I don't think so many far-right types would love him or parrot what he's saying. And today we are talking about Hitler because there has been...
Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. We need to listen to that again. That little bit of brilliant... I don't even... It's so smart, I can't even think of a word of it. It's above my... It's like... It's so far above my mental capacities. I can't even find the word for it. But I think it went something like this. Don't you know that Hitler was a socialist? If he wasn't a socialist, I don't think so many right-wing people will be mimicking his talking points. That's like saying, it's like saying so many other things. Circular logic, brah. You don't, ugh. I know that debate bros aren't like super loved online because they bring up facts and they remind you your emotional narrative is only making it worse, feeding the culture war. I will also put the caveat out there that this young man lives in the UK, apparently. Living in the UK, he has a very different reality than we do in the United States. And that said, in the global geopolitical sphere. He lives on a little island that is pretending as if Thatcher didn't seal their fate, was that 50 years ago or whatever. Really, it was really 50-something years ago. England's had no future for a long time. It's been written, it's been said. That's the real deal. Those are the facts. Dystopia, no, it's not dystopia. What the fuck is a dystopia? Maybe if you're poor and you live in one of those tenement housing units, there is much to be said about socioeconomic problems. Okay, classes suffer different problems. Government responds in a very unhelpful way, right? And each country's going to have their plight in accessing government to try to get through to them and say, look what we need your help with, or look what you did, or whatever. Okay, your plight will be your own. Using words like dystopian is just lazy. It's like, oh, we all know. That's what you're running off of. You're using the all know. We all know. It's an appeal to populace, an ad populum fallacy. Just like I don't know if that's, damn it. More coffee. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Where you're saying after these things happen that this was what was there to begin with. And it's like, that's like saying, that's like Lenin saying that they are the representatives of Marx. And then the Soviet Union being the disaster, the brutally deadly, even more so than the Holocaust. They killed more people. And if you consider the bodies that they threw into the war, like at St. Petersburg and all that stuff, the death toll's mighty high on the Russian side. I don't know if you've heard this or not. A lot of it's self-inflicted out of, bad, egocentric, self-important leadership. Totalitarianism. That's fascism. Stalin and Hitler were of the same ilk. Okay? That's basic. Don't buy that Leninist argument that the West is the imperial side and the communist is the opposite. There's fascism and there's communism, and these are the two sides. Oh, bro, come on. That's not the deal. In regard to Russia saying, oh, look, we're Marxist, right? We're espousing the Marxist, blah, 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 blah. Marx was dead. Marx was dead by then. He had nothing to do with it. Never met Lenin. I think when Marx died, Lenin was like 3. He was in between the age of 3 and 7 years old. All right, come on. And then, although he probably still had the little goatee when he was a baby, he was still a young person. He had nothing to do with Marx. All of those guys that did the Russian Revolution were city kids that went over to Paris and studied in exile while they let the peasants die in things like Bloody Sunday. I mean, there's history there that doesn't line up with the dates that other people are there, but they want to squish it all together and be like, this is one side of the world's struggle and this is the other side. It's communism versus fascism, i.e. capitalism, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong. The only way that you get that math to add up is going through the Leninist route. But we can cut Lenin out, and even if you don't want to cut him out, recognize that Marx had nothing to do with that. So then the conservatives that blame Marxist ideology for Stalin's effect are doing the same thing you're doing. Okay, let me dumb it down for you just so you get this point. I need you to get this point. Marx was not in Russia. Marx did not start all of that USSR bullshit. Marx had nothing to do with it. He was around for with the Paris Commune or something like that. There was something that was inspiring to him, but you cannot smush all this shit together and be like, Marx would have hated Lenin, hated him. They did everything wrong. The peasants weren't at all part of Marxist ideology. That's not where the movement was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen either in the United States or the developed Germany, where Marx was from. Now, of course, he lived in England, and there's history here, right? But it's not simple. And this explanation is, you're like, Nazi, oh, bad. I'm not going to look at what a Nazi is. I'm not going to consider their ideology. I'm going to look at all the effects that are, okay, so let's see. Since Thatcher, it's been 50 years. It's been even longer since the Nazis. I don't know if you know this or not. So we got to go even farther back and look at what was going on. Look at how Hitler took his playbook from Mussolini, which was like the shock troops and the strength and all that stuff. That is an element of fascism. This is complicated stuff. Making it stupid simple where you're like, it's us against them and the Nazis are bad and they're out there is just fucking wrong. Now, I understand the UK has other social issues, and if you're in that bubble, I can understand how you might think these things, especially as a young person. I'm expecting this young man to be 22. Something like that, like 22. At least he's trying to figure this out, and at least he's trying to play for the right team. But there ain't no team, bro. There ain't no team. And I guarantee that this guy, if someone's like, actually, Nazis were socialists, he'd be like, oh, your asinine argument, another asinine argument. You're wrong. You're just wrong. Find out how. Find out why. Don't just continue to double down on the groupthink. It's wrong. Oh, if Hitler was a socialist, I don't think right-wing people now would like what he had to say. They don't. I think you're saying right-wing because you have this post-Brexit anti-immigration scenario where people have this traditional, now conservative. Okay, conservative is different than right-wing. White-wing is different than right-wing. There are distinctions here where we do not need to concern ourselves with the distinctions, or where the kids on Reddit and things like that just there's no skin in the game. They have nothing to lose. They can say what they want, and they can look for whatever, it could be just like the left online is not the left. They're just the not right. We're not them. I don't know what I am, but I'm not that. That's what that is. And the right is doing the same thing, but they were doing it before. Think Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that. It's all about what you're not instead of what you are. And that's not much of anything to begin with. So,
hello everyone, once again from the dystopian capitalist monarchy of the United Kingdom. Now, recently in the UK, we had an American-funded far-right conservative conference where Nazi-era conspiracy theories were promoted in front of the eyes of the UK, and it was labelled...
Who cares? With the eyes of the UK, you didn't have to look, is the point. You didn't have to look, and I think what would be pertinent is how many people attended. What qualifies it as Nazi? I mean, the guy might be right. National conservatism. I mean, that. I think just from the little bit of info I have here, what will qualify this as potentially being problematic is the dog whistle, camouflaged language, so that it appeals to several different demographics. I'm being charitable and calling them demographics. It appeals to several, like with what Trump did. He didn't have to say, nope, racism's wrong. He should have, but he just towed that line. Was it Charleston or whatever? He's like, there were very fine people on both sides of the... He does that to capitalize on the widest swath of demographics as possible to win a majority because you have to coalition build. And his ideology was that it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong, they're there and I'm here to represent them. Okay, it is not right, but that's the explanation. The explanation is not that they want to see a white supremacy sweep over. Now, there are people like Nick Fuentes and others that will espouse that point of view, but that is an effect. That was not the cause. And, you know, it's just, people just way too eager to paint things in one way or another without qualifying their comparisons in history. They're looking for the shortest path that they can take to connect this to that. So this may connect. I don't know. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know how many people attended. But to generalize and to say in front of the eyes of England, and therefore it's an historically relevant occasion, I think is wanting to make yourself more important than you are, because the thing itself doesn't matter.
Called national conservatism. Now, despite having a name like national conservatism, it must be the complete opposite of national socialism. Didn't you know Hitler was actually a socialist?
Okay, National Socialism. It's nationalist socialism. National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany. Look into history, my man. It's very important. You had the Freikorps, which is a precursor to the Nazi Party. You had Hitler, who went to jail for doing illegal things, trying to take over the government and whatnot. And in jail, he wrote his book, which is like his take on like the fullness of times. Like, he thinks he's a prophet, and he thinks that he is speaking for all of the Germany was once great. We're going to make Germany great again, and this is why it's wrong, and I'm fulfilling all this destiny, and this is where it's insanity. Okay, Mein Kampf is insane. It's poorly written, but historically, you have to consider where did Hitler write from? He wrote it from jail. Why did he write it in jail? Because of the things he did. The things he did when he got out of jail, he ended up succeeding in. It's not like he had different plans. It's the same plan. He just played it by ear and kept getting turned down. So what do you do in those situations? You find out how to pander to people that will then support you, and he was very good at that. Socialism is considering the social welfare of the state. Now, if the state is a nation, then it's considering the social welfare of the nation. The order of the words and the parties that preceded, you know, one party in particular, if we're going to look at the Nazis, the Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, we're going to look at them and we're going to say these words are, oh, it's so absurd. If this is national conservatism, then it must be the opposite of national socialism. It's like, oh, you're working way too hard to do very stupid shit. National socialism. Socialism is not a thing. This idea that is like all these guys out here and gals that we're going to like bring socialism about. You can't decide what that is. The only thing you know is it's not that. But you can't say what that is either, except Nazis. And this is what drives so many people through that radicalist pipeline into ideologies that may or may not, but probably won't connect to Nazi ideology. Nazi ideology is explicitly tied into German politics. If you want to separate that and be like, I'm a white nationalist, or any of these strange people that call themselves Nazis are just as bad as you, because you don't take the time to establish what that ideology is. You're just serving your ego. You're saying, we're against this thing that's out here, that's nebulous, that's not us, that's against us. And see, it's this circular, self-fulfilling insanity. First one to stop wins.
Well, if Hitler was a socialist, I don't think so many far-right types would love him or parrot what he's saying. And today we are talking about Hitler because there has...
I can't do it. My coffee's done. Guys, I'll be back for a better stream later. But come on, internet, while I'm gone, just try to be smart for 1 fucking second. Just one. If you're smart for 1 second, I will be very humble and I'll say, I'm just an old angry man and I'm done. You guys are good. I'm out. But you're not good. So this is why in packs and animal kingdoms and human kingdoms, we see school shootings and shit like that. We see so much insanity. We see people acting like Nazis and trying to take over countries, and Russia exploiting the weakness there, and the dummies inside of the country believing that the United States is funding Ukraine because it's a proxy war against capitalism by Russia. It's insane, but people believe the insanity. And then there's smart people like Emma Vigeland saying, that China is like not evil. Like Xi Jinping in all his glory. Like they make little jokes about that. Oh, I wish people would see the light. What the fuck is wrong with you? Tell them to take the Mao poster down in Beijing, and then we'll talk. But otherwise, you're just as stupid as this guy, which makes me upset because I know you're not that stupid. This guy is young. He's probably the same age, but he's a man. So, you know, like he's going to be dumber for a little bit longer. That's the way that works. He's in England, so he thinks politics in the rest of the world are relative to that tiny, tiny little island. He thinks that America is just like England and they could have... People think things that are wrong. They're just wrong. So while I'm gone, try to get right. Okay? You try to get right. And I'll be a little friendlier. I'll be a little nicer. Be a little kinder. Be a little more supportive. And maybe we can be friends and work it out together and actually form something like a formidable left with grown-ups and kids alike, with people who had previously political prescriptions that wouldn't fit as the clique is arranged right now. That's what we need. We don't need to just pander to the lowest common denominator. We need to get it right, and we need to provide policy prescriptions that are out in the open before we're pushing for them. Done. We need to get our platform sturdy and sound and work out the disagreement now, because it has never been done, and everyone acting as if criticism to the left is destructive to some. It's not there. It's not there to begin with. You've just got various little cliques and clubs like Vosh and like Majority Report and like TYT and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, what club are you in? What colors do you wear? Oh, you're disruptive to our cult. Fuck you and your cult. You know, I'm glad that you can pay your bills based on your cult. Maybe not as well as you'd like, but you do. And the rest of us don't have that luxury. So we're looking for what we're looking for. Let's change the dynamic to produce a different effect. I'll be back to see how you're doing with that very quest.